just being honest, by the time I get my kids home and I can pull myself through putting together a dinner, it requires every ounce of determination and push that I have to get that provided for them. And I hate this, but sometimes I just look at the clock and I wonder, how many more minutes till the kids are in bed till I can just crash and just go to bed. Hi guys, welcome back to the Classy Mommy. Okay, this is the second video in this little 4-part series of whether it's better to be a stay-at-home mom or a working mom. Spoiler alert, no one can answer that question for you. But let's just dive into the discussion. This is part 2, and this is the cons of being a working mom. So if you didn't watch part 1, I'll link it down below. I am a working mom. I've worked for 11 years in the professional setting. I'm a teacher, so I've taught for 11 years. I have 2 children of my own, a 3.5-year-old son and a 1.5-year-old daughter, and they are in childcare. I really feel like whatever season we're in, we have to find a little bit of joy in that season, even if it isn't our preference. Now, I also know plenty of working moms who prefer to be working, and they feel like they're a better mom because of it. I also know some working moms who don't want to be working and they want to be home with their children. I know some moms who are at home who wish they were in the workplace. I know some moms who are at home who love being at home. So I feel like it's such a personal thing. I really don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I think these are discussions and conversations that are worth having because it is extremely difficult. So I just wanted to preface with every woman is so different, every situation is different, every family situation is different, and I do have a very supportive, wonderful husband who does help take care of the children so much, but we have had conversations about how it disproportionately weighs on me to balance a home and work more than it does on him. And that's just how it is in our family. So let's just jump into some of the cons of being a working mom. I've heard it said before that working moms have to work like they're not a mom and be a mom like they don't work. And I totally feel like that's true. I do regularly feel pulled and torn between the two. Things like at nighttime, I'm usually meal prepping and setting out meals for the next day, like our lunches, our breakfast, and even our dinner the night before. I'm also reloading the daycare bag and getting that replenished and put back in the car at night. I'm doing laundry at night. We're doing dishes at night. So I am, while I'm at home, thinking about how to streamline our family so that I can be a successful, professional as well. And likewise, when I'm at work, I'm thinking of how to take care of my children and my family when I'm with them. Next, I think the biggest thing that most working moms will tell you is a disadvantage is just the time with our children. And yes, I've visited with some of our child care providers, and we've just had candid conversations about discussions that they've had amongst themselves as well. Like, do you tell a parent when you're seeing their child's first steps? Or, would that just make the parent feel sad if, a child care provider saw the first steps or heard the first word or saw all these, different milestones? I was talking with a friend of mine who was the primary caregiver for one of my children last year. And she, and I talked about it and I told her, please, tell me. I will be, totally jealous that you got to see something. However, I know that, what's happening in my child is the most important and she's loved and that's what's really important. So I want, the child care provider, cheering her on and celebrating her. And then I want to know about it so I can do that too at home and be watching for that. And then I know that some child care providers feel like they don't want to tell the parents, which I completely respect that opinion as well, because it can feel very sad as a parent to feel like, oh, I missed out on all these things, and to be regularly hearing of all the milestones that you weren't there to see first. So, I think that's a very personal decision whether you'd want to know about those milestones happening while they're not under your care or to not, and I completely understand both. Next, let's talk about being sick from childcare. You guys, I'm not gonna lie or sugarcoat it. My kids are more sick when they're in childcare. And I don't think that's because of neglect or because it's too full or anything like that. Their providers are fantastic and really good about helping the kids wash hands and sanitize things. But that's just the name of the game when you have a lot of small children together. I mean, I'm in my classroom right now, right? I'm an elementary music teacher and I'm constantly around sick kids, constantly. That's just how it goes. Originally, I was talking with my pediatrician about when I was putting my first child into childcare. And he said, yeah, for the first, he kind of gave me a guideline of up until a certain age, it's really important to really, have them be pulled away from those germs and exposure to that, to let them just grow and develop. And then he shared with me that his his professional opinion was that at a certain age, it's okay to be around those to help grow your child's immune system. Now, I'm sure there are as many different opinions as there are medical professionals. I am a teacher. I am not a doctor. But I can tell you my experience has been when my kids are home with me during the summers, they're fine. No sickness, really no bugs. And then as soon as we go back to childcare in the fall, they're sick, usually within days. And that's really hard. And I do struggle with that because I don't want to see my children sick. I'm around it constantly. So I think that if my children were with family members and maybe not around a lot of other children during the day, they would still probably be very exposed to a lot of germs because I am hugged and slobbered on and sneezed on and coughed on and boogers, smeared on me from hundreds of kids every single day. So I feel like they'd still be around things. However, I feel like it wouldn't be as much. So that is definitely a downside to being a working mommy and having my children in childcare. On that same line, my next note I jotted down in my little trusty notebook is it can be really hard to find childcare. We were visiting with my husband and I were visiting with some friends that we know that really decided they wanted both spouses to work so that they could put their children in like the top of the line, early scholars kind of like advanced childcare preschool program. And that's totally their choice. And I feel like that's such a personal decision for every family. I am not working to provide that for my children. I am working to provide finances for our family. So we needed to find a child care facility that most importantly we felt, that our children were safe. And then our next very close, right there tied, priority is that they're loved and nurtured. And we've had our children in a number of different kinds of child care, from people's homes, close family, and in a full-blown preschool kind of program. And I feel like there's pros and cons to all of them. There's going to be pros and cons to anywhere where your children are. I mean, can we really be honest? I don't know if as a parent we'll ever feel like anyone else can ever, love on our children and take care of them as best as we could. And I think that's just part of human nature. At least that's how I feel. Childcare, it can be, and I just feel like is very, very expensive. So that's a big con. Along the same lines of childcare, it can be really emotional to see my children desire to stay home and know that we can't stay home. Some days, and it's actually been happening more currently than it's really ever happened before with my 3.5-year-old. Lately, he's been asking if he can stay home and just cuddle with mommy and stay home and play with his toys in his room and stay home and have a family snuggly day. And that just breaks a mama's heart when I've got to get him dressed and get him in the car and it's cold outside and then we've got to rush to get ready and rush to have breakfast and just really kind of push him. And for him, his little personality, he likes to kind of take his time. So, I really don't like that in the mornings, having to rush and push him to get ready and push him to get in the car, especially when he's telling me, Mommy, I just want to have a cuddly day today. Can we just stay home? How many more days of preschool till we can have a weekend together? And, that just breaks a mama's heart. Now, this one might just be unique to me as a teacher. If you are in another profession and you have a different experience, let me know down below. My job is just super physically and emotionally very consuming because I'm working with young children. I'm trying to be present to help and support them. And all the while, I'm teaching a very active, very physically involved subject. So by the time I can leave school, I'm just spent. I'm really honestly ready to go home and just go to bed most days. So that does really break my heart that for the kids who are the most important to me, I have the least amount of energy. And you guys, just being honest, by the time I get my kids home and I can pull myself through putting together a dinner, usually I try to do a lot of cooking the weekend before or even, get it ready, do as much as I can so that I can put it together easily. Still, it requires every ounce of determination and push that I have to get that provided for them. And I hate this, but sometimes I just look at the clock and I wonder, how many more minutes till the kids are in bed till I can just crash and just go to bed. And I'm talking early. That just breaks my mama heart knowing that I expend so much energy on other children all day long. When it comes to the most important children to me, I don't have as much energy as I would want to have to give to them. I would love to be on the floor wrestling and cuddling and chasing and building forts and building blocks and reading books with my kids every night. And more often than not, I really try to. but my energy level is just so low. I'm just kind of barely pulling myself through, and definitely not doing all that I have in my heart to do. Next, let's just talk again about kids being sick. So with childcare, I have noticed my kids get sick regularly, frequently. I don't have to stay home all the time with them, but when I do, it is extremely stressful being a teacher and having to prepare for a sub. I usually spend at least an hour preparing for my sub, even though I have as much as I can prepared always here at my desk, and should there be any emergencies. But it takes me that long while I'm at home in the middle of the night, in the wee hours of the morning, whenever I have realized that I need to take a sick day for myself or my kids, but I'm talking about kids right now. It takes me at least an hour to go through all the hoops of requesting the time off, requesting a sub, writing very detailed sub plans that are exact for that exact moment where we are in our lessons. You guys, it's a really big deal being a mom and a professional. So my priority will always be my children. However, staying home with them cost me as a professional dearly in my career. It really did. Having a concert or having, standardized tests coming up or whatever it is, or whatever your job is, if you have to stay home or make fast changes because of children's needs, you have to do that. But there is a cost to be paid professionally for that as well. And I feel like many employers in many places are quite understanding. And my job was very understanding, and my administrators were understanding. What are you going to do? Your child has the flu. However, there's always a consequence and there's always a cost for not being at work. And it's a really big deal. So this year I felt a couple actually extreme consequences for having to stay home because I have sick kids. All right, I'm off my soapbox. Life's going to be okay. We're not sick anymore. We're all feeling better. But I'm just being honest, you guys. It's a really big deal to last minute miss work. Okay, and lastly, I just barely want to touch on the process of becoming a mama, being pregnant while working. Oh my gosh, I could make an entire video on this. I worked through 2 pregnancies so far, and I can tell you they were both entirely different. With my second pregnancy, I felt like I had the flu every single day for 5.5 months. You do not want to feel like you have the flu when you have charge over 30 to 35 students. I did not have the ability to leave my classroom whenever I felt like I needed to go use the restroom. And if you've ever been pregnant, you know that it can be every 2 minutes, even if you just went 2 minutes ago, and you can't control that. That is just what happens when you're pregnant. So I couldn't use the restroom whenever I needed to. I was on my feet all day long, constantly. I had very physical demands on me while I was pregnant. Just the energy level of how you feel when you're pregnant and having to exude a lot of energy for my specific job and career, very, very taxing. And then having a baby at home who also needed a lot of energy. That's just, that's an exhaustion level like I've never felt before. And then the after part, so definitely a downside to being a working mom is those early days of having to take, little tiny baby to a child care facility when they're tiny. But those are some of the hardest days that I've ever faced. I was dropping my sweet little bundles of love off with other people and driving to take care of other people's children while I just wanted to be with my own children. So you guys, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I feel like these are conversations that can be and should be had. And I don't think anyone can tell you what's the best choice for your family. I don't think that's anyone else's place. And certainly that's not my intention at all with sharing these videos. My intention is not to say you should or you shouldn't. I think that every family is extremely different. And before you judge any mom and what she has to do, you don't know. You don't know if she has support, if she doesn't have support. I also know that some women don't have the opportunity or luxury of even considering what their preference would be. So this is just to start the conversation of support and compassion for each other, because being a mom is hard, being a working mom is hard. All right, I'll see you guys next time.